Hello and welcome back to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl. I'm Dr. Cheryl. I'm an author, entrepreneur, and speaker of wealth transformation, integrity, 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 and most of all with unconditional love. We need unconditional love more than ever today, especially this season of giving and receiving. And remember, unconditional love is non-judgmental and be patient. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with your loved ones. So with that, let's keep our humor. 'Twas the month after Christmas, and all through the house nothing would fit me, not even a blouse. The cookies I nibbled and the eggnog I tasted at the holiday parties had gone to my waist. When I got on the scales, there arose such a number. When I walked to the store, less a walk than a lumber, I'd remember the marvelous meals I'd prepared, the gravies, the sauces, the beef nicely rared, the punch and the candy and the bread and the cheese, and the way I'd not said, "No thank you, please," as I dressed myself in my husband's old shirt and prepared once again to do battle with dirt. I said to myself, as I only can, "You can't spend a winter disguised as a man." So away with the last of the sour cream dip. Get rid of the fruitcake, every cracker and chip. Every last bit of food that I like must be banished till all the additional ounces have vanished. I won't have a cookie, not even a lick. I'll want only a chew to chew on a long celery stick. I won't have hot biscuits or corn, bread or pie. I'll munch on the carrot and quietly cry. I'm hungry, I'm lonesome, and life is a bore. But isn't that what January is for? Unable to giggle? To longer a riot. Happy New Year to all, and to all a good diet. Well, I'm going off the script right now because right now I am being challenged on all fronts. From my family challenging me, I've had to let go of a couple friends, one of 25 years, financial challenges that I won't even go into. But I'm bringing this up because I talk about wealth transformation. And it's how we handle it. I know that I'm being challenged every day, and it's been going on for a couple weeks now, beyond, I've had to reach out for help because of my challenges. And I guess that's part of what I'm having to learn is to ask. But I talk about how we handle this and our spirituality with wealth and spirit with abundance. And, you know, a lot of the people say that are out there in the forefront of teaching is that you have to let go of friends that are not healthy. So, you know, it's sad but true. And I've let go of some friends, and it's just the way it is because I can't go to the next level. And anyway, I want to practice what I preach. Even though I'm going through these challenges, I have faith. I have undying faith that it's all turning around even as I'm speaking about it. And it is the time of year when we're closing up 2012 and we're looking at things. I mean, most people are, some people aren't. But it's time to look at yourself and really love yourself unconditionally no matter what. And yes, some people say that's conditional, but it's not judging yourself and being patient with yourself and trusting. And that's really the most important thing, is trusting. I trust God, and I trust the universe is providing for all the solutions as I'm doing the action to make the solutions happen as well. Anyway, I just wanted to share that because I talk about this in every one of my shows, and I'm especially going through it, and I'm okay. This afternoon, we have a very special guest. His name is Mark Allen Grainger. This is the first part of the two-part discussion with Mark. Mark Allen Grainger He simply has a way with crowds as a keynote speaker, workshop facilitator, or a master of ceremonies. Mark Allen Grainger conveys an inspirational and humorous message of gender roles, self-empowerment, and personal responsibility that causes people to lean forward and feel. Mark provides inspiring content, resources, and tools for women to stand strong in their opinion. His heartfelt stories and powerful language weaves an inspirational experience perfect for motivated leaders struggling to find their personal and professional identity. Because Mark strives to inspire and transform his audience, they'll embrace his message and remember its impact for years to come. While studying to become a marriage and family therapist and obsessed by the need for deeper understanding of gender roles, Mark witnessed that women's power lies in the authentic expression of her heart, a powerful strategy. It is designed specifically to handle the pushback from men and society. Mark instantly knew his destiny lied on another path, so he left graduate school and reinvented his own self of facing his biggest. Mark stepped back to evaluate his business and realized that over 85% of his best clients were ambitious women, and entrepreneurs and executives. As the creator of the 2-day transformational experience, The Persuasion Equation, the new anti-sales model for getting paid for what you're worth, Mark brings a more intimate and authentic model to business he calls the heart-centered influence formula. He lives his passion supporting women to be deeply seen and appreciated for their unique gifts while working in collaboration to create a rocking vision that fulfills her inner calling to transform self, community, and culture. Mark is the author of 2 books, The Inspirational Communicator and the ebook, I Can, I Will, Therefore I Must. The purpose of the Visionary Women and Enlightened Men Network is to explore how men and women can work together more effectively to usher in a more intimate, enjoyable, and profitable way of doing business. Thank you so much for being here. I know this has been anticipated, and I love your message. Since I've already done your intro, actually I'd like you to talk about what your passion, your purpose is first, that you're doing.
Beautiful. Well, I appreciate that. You know, it's taken a very long time, I think, for a person to really, I think part of our purpose here in the world is to discover our purpose. And so to me, it's been a long unfolding of looking inward, doing a lot of inquiry and a lot of personal work. And I have come to find that the work that helps you really define what you're here to do and to be passionate about really stems around the words that you speak and the words that you write. Amen. And so your words have a lot to do with your identity, the space that you come from, how you've been socialized, how you've been programmed. All of that really tells you what you're not. And then from there, you have the opportunity to look a little deeper and discover what you are, which is also always tied to language. So my passion now, because of where I've come from and where I'm going, and simply because I've been called, is to really help visionary women to define their voice and to live independently of the opinion of men. Because
what do you mean called?
What do I mean? I have to keep doing what I'm doing.
Do you think a calling comes from spirit, from God, from
the
universe?
I believe. I
mean, when you said that, that's the first thing that I thought.
Absolutely.
It's a higher, more expanding energy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe that that calling is something that's put in you. I call it the whisper. And I think that whisper has been put there divinely when you chose your parents and came into this world. And it's our job to cultivate what's going on within us to turn that whisper into a roar.
So tell me more about this courageous women thing.
Well, I just think it's really important. The way I've been raised, the experiences that happened to me, the things that I'm really good at seem to be things that really help empower women that have a purpose, that feel called to do something. And I really want to help them be able to live and communicate independent of the opinion of men. and to be able to understand that to be a leader doesn't mean they have to follow what they have been conditioned to do. The world right now, Cheryl, more than ever, is geared towards the success of women who step into their femininity.
Absolutely.
And yet still embrace their masculinity and learn how to walk that delicate balance that's right for them, that's customized to them. They don't have to step away from their spiritual path. They don't have to do something that's not them. They do have to do the inner work and get the skills to come from a place to understand how to communicate from the masculine and feminine energies to get what you want.
And be confident.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Totally be confident. Now, I've heard you speak a few times, and I met you, I don't know, maybe a couple years ago. And, you know, I've seen your growth and your expansion, and I think it's wonderful.
Thank you.
So, you know, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted you to be here, is because I love the message that you say. And, you know, one thing that I think is really important, and I want, this is what I want to ask you about, how you can help men be enlightened around this and not be intimidated. And because I know, and actually I'm probably embracing my own empowerment more than I ever have in my life, and keeping my femininity. But it's like, how can you help men be enlightened around this?
It's really interesting you should say that, because I would go and speak generally to it would be kind of what I would say a mixed gender audience, and I would speak and I would be talking about the call to women. You're seeing all these women's gatherings coming together. Women are coming together. They're asking themselves the question, what does it mean to be an authentic woman, to be in my feminine power? And they're coming together as sisters and looking inward and asking questions that men are not doing. Men are not coming together as men and really evaluating what does that mean, but they want to. And so what happens is when I'll be speaking, you're not like they are in women. Women, it's flocking by hundreds of thousands, even millions of women around the world are coming together and having a new conversation. Men aren't doing that. There are some on the fringes that are doing it, that are feeling it.
But what do you mean by that? I mean, what kind of conversations are you talking about?
The women are having a conversation about who am I? Who are we as women? How are we empowered? What is the authentic expression to mean to be a woman? How am I handling my sex? We have a desire for touch. We have a desire for passion. And when a woman can get past any kind of shame, guilt, and holdback that she has around that, then she's really in her power. Then she's able to act and speak and communicate independent of men, and this is going to affect her entire life. So when I talk about this, one of the things I talk about is that men are in a space right now where we no longer understand what it means to be masculine. Because women can take care of themselves. Women can have their own job, their own wealth, their own home. They can even go and get pregnant without a partner. And so women want a partner, but it's leaving men left with a little bit of an identity crisis of how do I exert power and strength and care for my woman who doesn't really need me to do the things that.
Except that it's a choice.
It is a choice, but as men, they don't really. We're lost in our role. And
how's that going to change?
Well, I think it is starting with the conversation, and what it is there's the new masculinity, and men come up to me after these and they start really asking me these questions. Wow, they're fascinated because they're starting to see that there's a man with courage that's talking about it.
Yes.
And what it comes down to is that men need to embrace their femininity.
Absolutely.
They need to embrace their compassion, their vulnerability.
It's almost the opposite polarity that women need to do.
Exactly right.
Now, from my experience for myself, I was raised and grew up with my dad. I was like his son almost, but not really, because I do have an older brother who was a golden boy. But I was always by my dad. But I was taught to be independent, and I was also raised with business, and so I got involved with the male energy young, and to have that balance, is important. So it's almost the opposite polarity.
Well, I think it's important for people to really understand that the world has really had this masculine energy about it, and it's
in the
neat.
Business world.
Basically all structures. As a matter of fact, I heard a great story. I think it was something that was told by Lynn Twist with Papa Macho Alliance, and she talked about how she sat in the audience and listened to 1976. She listened to Buckminster Fuller. Oh, and Bucky said, "There you go, there you go." And one of the things he said then is he said, "We have crossed a threshold for the first time in human history, that every man, woman, and child that lives on the earth has the ability to live a happy, healthy life." Meaning they can have shelter, they can have food, they can have an education.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we are doing more and more with less and less. We're getting efficiency, and we now have the ability to take care of everyone in the world. But he said it'll be another 50 to 100 years before we're able to break down the organizational structures to actually live from that space.
Right.
And so what we're seeing happen right now is really opportunity. That what's happening is we're seeing we no longer want to drive the machine tighter, faster, stronger, masculine. We want to now drive the machine to have meaning, connection, and community, feminine. And so we're all feeling this need for a shift in that way. And it means men and women sometimes too need to embrace more of the feminine, especially I think women who have been really taken to the far edge of the masculine, because your identity lies in your gender. And so now some people will say, well, we're beyond gender, and that's true too. But in this worldly plane, we're our gender, and you want to be who you are in this world to impact it with what your calling is.
When we can look at one another as, well, he's just a man or she's just a woman. When we can look at someone, I mean, this is my interpretation. When you can look at someone and say, oh, he's in touch with his female side.
Absolutely.
Or, yes, I'm in touch with my male side.
Right.
So, that's where, really the gender
Absolutely
doesn't, it's like all the boundaries just fade away.
We're moving into oneness, and with that, what that
Yes.
means is that we as genders need to start looking at the opposite polarity.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the challenges with this, though, is language. Because when you say to a man, you need to get in touch with your feminine side, that's
right
hard.
there.
That's for him to swallow.
You don't say you.
But what I'm talking about, that is the language of feminine. Because we assimilate feminine and masculine with gender, boy, girl, man, woman. And really, it's just an energy. It's just a different energy that is personified by that sex or by that gender.
Except by the physical expression.
Exactly.
I mean, that is where it changes.
That's right.
It is what it is.
That's right. But masculine being very structure, power, focus, women being more community, connection, collaboration. Right. Those are just energies that live within us. And that's the thing I want people to think, is that within a man, we're not asking you to be a woman or even take on being a woman. We're asking you to look in that space that is you, that has more compassion, has more the ability to be more vulnerable, and allow that part to you to expand and grow. And then with women, really understand that you do have the role to step into masculine to get things done. To exert your power, to not give excuses, or to stand strong in your opinion, but then to go make sure that you are stepping into your feminine, because that is what melts a man and allows you to.
When you're coming from your heart.
Absolutely.
So, with all that being said, I mean, I know we could go on and on and on about this, because I love this subject. I want to get back into the wealth transformation and how this works with my purpose and my passion. And so how are you taught to think and feel about money and wealth growing up?
Very good. I was taught that you don't talk about money. I was taught,
don't talk about it.
Money. Well, you can talk about within the family, but it's not anybody's business what you make. It's not any.
Yeah.
And
did you feel like there was lack at that when they wouldn't talk about it, or?
At the time, I didn't, because we were upper middle class. My dad was in the oil industry, so I know we made a good living.
So you never felt the lack?
So I never felt lack of anything or needing anything in my life. We had what we needed and what we wanted. And my parents are your quintessential millionaire next door. There's a book written about that. My mom learned frugality, and they saved. And my dad had the luxury of a great job. So, and he had that job from 26 till the time he retired. He had it for 30 years, and he worked himself up in the company and invested in the stocks. And so they had an opportunity to really do well. What was interesting, though, is when I started to go into business, I was going to be a marriage and family therapist. I was in counseling to do that. And I was given an assignment to talk to other psychologists. And they all said the same thing. They said I was not prepared to be a business person. I have to deal with profit and loss and overhead and marketing. And that spoke volumes to me. So I actually left the graduate school program to face my biggest fear, which was selling. I knew I was going to be in business, but but I was afraid to talk about money. It was amazing, that fear, Cheryl. It locked me
No,
up.
I understand.
And for years, it made me, for years, it made me a failure, or what I felt was a failure, as I was learning to talk about money, because I would go out and say, well, all I need to do is get trained. If I can get trained on how to sell, then I can do it. But then what I started seeing is I was battling thoughts and beliefs that were going against the training, and I was getting very masculine model of training. So it was very confronting, it was controlling. And fortunately, over the years, I've been able to find a beautiful style that I call heart-centered influence, which is more about the compassion. It's more that feminine model of communication that allows you to speak from your heart, your core values, and stick to your spiritual path with service, but yet still being very powerful in your influence.
And since you said spiritual path, what do spiritual principles mean to you?
To me, spirituality is finding that within you which is beyond the mind.
I like that.
Now I see it as a blessing, because my direction has taken me through A Course in Miracles. It's taken me through a variety of different spiritual paths, including Christianity, so that I feel like I'm getting a real understanding of what God is, and I'm able to look inward and find real answers that matter. And that is what is spiritual. Spiritual principles are understanding how to get beyond the mind, so you can get a real understanding of what the right next move is.
I like that definition. So how do you think you apply spiritual principles to your finances and your wealth today?
You know, that's really interesting, because life is always in flux, you know, and in a lot of ways I'm starting over, you know, recently divorced. That's always financial hardship.
Challenge, yeah.
And it always comes down to responsibility. And to me, it's about praying, it's about writing. I think journaling and inquiry is extremely important. And
especially
really,
when you need to forgive.
Absolutely. And really slowing down. I think that's the biggest thing to me as a spiritual practice, is slowing down and realizing that in a single statement that you make about yourself, you know, I'm concerned about paying the rent this month. Okay, you write that on a piece of paper. There is volumes with just that sentence.
Oh, yeah.
And giving yourself time to allow something real to come up, allowing the energy, the tears, the worry, the stress, whatever is coming up, to move through you. But what we have a tendency to do when we're in our mind is chatter through it.
Yes.
Chatter through it, so we don't really feel anything.
And you know, that is the key to all of our healing on this planet, and everybody, you know, and I think, you know, now that we're talking about this, that's most people don't want to feel the pain.
That's right.
So they run from it.
Absolutely.
And you can't do that, because things are going to keep happening to get you
That's
to
exactly
that point.
right.
So you know what? Once you deal with that, then you're free. When
Well,
you
until
allow
you-
yourself.
that's right,
when
until
you
there's
allow
something else you have to be responsible for.
That's,
That's the
but that's
path.
life. You
That's
know,
right.
it's the roller coaster
It really is.
effect, or whatever you want to call it.
But I do think there comes a point in time in your spiritual development to where you no longer are really truly tied to the circumstance, where you're able to recognize that this too shall pass, whether it's beautiful ecstasy or some real serious stress and overwhelm.
Yeah.
You're able to be in a space of witness that is very powerful, and you're just able to kind of, wow, isn't that interesting that just happened? As opposed to, oh my God, this is happening to me.
Yeah, no,
You're able to
exactly.
really be in a space.
In that spiritual space.
And that only comes from that consistently slowing down and
it's-
going beyond the mind.
And it's trusting.
It is.
It's truly trusting beyond yourself, or that connection with your higher self.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's, to me, is what that's about.
And I think, Cheryl, as we say that, you know, the word surrender comes to my mind, and trust.
Totally.
And there's a lot of buzzwords that come up, and I think it's important for all of us to understand that we can talk intellectually about it, but the actual work itself is
it's an individual thing.
It really is.
You know,
And
the way I deal with something, because I usually, when I have something like I've had extreme challenges in the last month or so, I deal with it head on,
nice.
because I don't want to get stuck. I don't want, you know,
You're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah, and I don't, you know, so if you deal with it now, you know, and sometimes it isn't always convenient to do it now.
That's right.
But it's making that focus, because once you know that you can get through it, and when you take the time to get through it, then you're going through to the other side.
right.
And then you'll be prepared for the next
That's
thing
exactly
that
right.
comes
That's
up,
exactly
because
right.
there's always going to be a next thing. So
Gary Zukav has some
Oh,
wonderful
he's
things.
wonderful,
Yeah,
yeah.
he
Seat of the
mentions.
Soul.
Yeah, he mentions something in his Authentic Power, where he talks about when you start to walk this path where you're making the more difficult decision, you're realizing that it's not more difficult. You've been conditioned to think that it's more difficult. And
It's
then
not.
what happens is that you slip into this space to where you're willing to take the action, you're willing to do what's difficult because you are so attached to the results of freeing yourself and opening and growing.
That's a key thing.
You know,
is
so when you tap into that level, now you're able to
being conscious of getting through it, so you aren't attached, though.
That's right.
You know, but so being conscious that you can get through it, and I think for myself, and of course I can only speak for myself, is because of all the challenges, it gets easier to deal with more, because
Agreed.
life is challenge, but
That's
life
right.
is opportunity. So we just grow and grow and grow and grow.
Absolutely.
Tip for today is do not take your relationships and your money for granted, especially in this season of overindulgence and spending too much. Give your unconditional love by hugs and listening, and especially listening, and doing things for your family and friends that they would really enjoy and that you would enjoy giving. I will leave you with this. Never give up on your pursuit of your purpose and passion. It doesn't matter how old you are. Be grateful for what you have and your freedom, and eat healthy. Good nutrition feeds the mind. Don't forget to feed your spirituality with unconditional love, which means stop being judgmental and be patient with yourself and others, and share your abundance and wealth with others. Live all your relationships with your heart and your soul. Bye for now. Until the next time.